Recording in progress. Welcome everyone to February 23rd's council meeting for North Frontenac. We'll call the meeting to order, it being 9 o'clock. First, I'll read the public notice regarding recording of this meeting. I thought I had it in front of me, but I will take Brooks' copy. Please be advised, North Frontenac Council meetings are recorded. By attending a public meeting of council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. The chair and or clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of the recording. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. The township shall not be responsible should technical difficulties prevent the recording of any meeting or a portion thereof. Technical issues may include, but are not limited to, the availability of the internet connection, device failure or malfunction, unavailability of social media platforms, or power outages. It should be noted that no protection is afforded to council members, employees, or the public for comments made during meetings which are subsequently challenged in a court of law and or determined to be defamatory. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with the Municipal Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, that all information provided for at a public meeting or other public process are considered a public record. Members of council, staff, delegates, and attendees should be mindful of using names of individuals or entities when discussing matters in public. Attendees are advised they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behavior or comments. Item 2 is the approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hudel, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved that council approves the agenda dated February 23rd, 2024 as circulated.
In favor? Passed. Item 3, disclosures of pecuniary interest in this agenda. Are there any? Councillor Hudel?
I, Roy Hudel, declare a pecuniary interest in item 10J on the February 23rd, 2024 council meeting agenda. I'm making this declaration due to the fact that my daughter has direct interest with circular materials. I confirm that I will not vote on the matter. I will not take part on the discussion on any question in respect of the matter, and I will not attempt in any way, whether before, during, or after the meeting, to influence the voting on such question, on any such question.
Thank you, Roy. We are on to item 4, which is a business profile. And this month it is for Ross Ranch near Ampa. Any comments on the report and photograph? I have a comment. I would have liked to see a photograph of Nick.
I asked for one. He's a very shy person.
Well, he has a lovely little backhoe, but excavator, but where was Nick? I guess he was inside of it. Thanks for this. And we have a resolution regarding this profile.
Moved by Councillor Hermer, seconded by Councillor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the business profile of Ross Ranch Contracting provided by the Economic Development Task Force.
In favor of receiving this? Passed. Item 5, no presentations today. Item 6, delegations. Is Staff Sergeant Underhill, Scott Underhill online?
Yes, I am.
Um,
Everybody hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, thank you. Please proceed.
Yes, how's everybody doing today? First one for me as the detachment commander here at Frontenac Detachment. I'm just going to talk a bit, if you're good, about some personnel issues, not issues, personnel information from detachment. So staffing levels continue to be a significant factor in the way we do business here at a Frontenac Detachment. We had one new recruit that just started last week. His name is Joshua Landry. So he comes to us with a little bit of experience. He was an auxiliary member for 14 years with us, and he's nicely settled in. He has a coach officer working out of the Sharbot Lake Detachment. We currently have 2 vacancies that we're carrying right now. One of those will be filled with a recruit in the May class. So he'll likely hit the ground here in June. Platoon strength for us, and forgive me if I'm kind of sharing information. You may or may not be aware of all this already, but I think it's important for me to ensure that you know the ins and outs and what's happening here at Frontenac Detachment, and how we're working towards better serving our office and the community. So platoon strength right now is 4 to 5 officers on platoon with a sergeant. Again, we're carrying a couple of vacancies due to members not reporting to work. We currently have one of our administrative clerks on a TA outside of detachment. So to backfill that, we have a clerk here from Quinte Detention Center. So she's on a temporary assignment here for the next 3 months. And that's working out well. So it brings us up to full staff within our civilians. And then as far as we have 2 members on 3 members now, I guess, as of last week, currently on restricted duties reporting to work. Rock Benoit, he reports to Sharbot Lake and works Monday to Friday. We have another member that just went on light duties working at a Frontenac Detachment. And then we have one that's going to be returning to work March 14th on a gradual return to work. So these are all, they're not fulfilling their full role as an officer out on the road, but they do provide some much needed assistance to our front line. They're able to take calls in office and deal with stuff from inside the detachment. We have I've only been here since early January, so as you can imagine, there's a lot to learn and a lot going on. One thing that I'm doing immediately within the next month. Currently, we have a CSCU position here at Frontenac Detachment, and Caitlin Van Stralen does that, and that's our that's basically CSCU is really our drug and property crime enforcement officer. So we share that. There's a supervisor that works at a Frontenac, a supervisor that works at a LNA, and there's one position here, 4 positions in LNA, which is Lennox and Addington, and 2 positions in Picton. So having experience coming from Lennox and Addington, where I was for 21 years before this, I recognize that LNA has 4 positions. They never really filled that 4th position. So I had a meeting last week with our chief and with the supervisor of that unit, and we've decided to transition one of those positions from LNA to Frontenac. So in a nutshell, what that means is we'll have 2 property crime drug enforcement officers working at a Frontenac detachment, which is going to be very beneficial to our detachment and your communities. We'll have 2 of them that are actually working closely with the drugs and the property crimes, break and enters, all that kind of stuff. So that's a big win for us and for the community, I think, being able to have 2 officers working closely, responding to as many B&Es as possible, and investigating those drug and property offenses. And of course, under that umbrella does fall firearms as well. So a lot of warrants that they execute involve firearms as well. Moving on to traffic. Again, being new to the detachment and new to the area here, I do know that we have a device was purchased for the detachment by I think it was South Frontenac PSB. It's called a Black Cat. It hasn't been up and running yet. So the goal is just to get that up and running to help assist with monitoring speeding areas and traffic areas of traffic concern. Lastly, just as far as detachment goes, our priorities or my priorities as a detachment commander are specific to number one, investigative excellence and victim assistance. Number two, traffic safety, and number three, community engagement. I've met with every platoon here, expressed my concerns and my priorities for my detachment, so that we're starting to see some, increase in our ticket writing. In addition to that, as far as investigative excellence goes, domestic violence occurrences are a very hot topic, always have been, but kind of fell by the wayside a little bit in respect to how we were managing them. So we've implemented two specific officers out of Frontenac that are going to be reviewing all incidents related to domestic violence, just to ensure that, number one, we're supporting the victims, and number two, to ensure that those investigations are fulsome and are being done properly according to our standards. And if I can just take you briefly to the PowerPoint presentation here that I think you see on your screen. This just came out, and I won't talk a lot about it other than the fact that our strategic plan for 2023 to 2025 just recently came out. It's very similar to what we've seen from 20 to 22. The focus of the organization is obviously our people, our work in our communities, and that comes right down from the Commissioner's office. So again, very much fall in line with our regional priorities, but we want to make sure that we're doing everything to ensure that, our people are healthy and resilient. We have a responsive and evolving OPP that supports our communities, and we're working closely and jointly with our communities as well and our partners. Just going down, I'll talk a little bit about our MCERT program. So Lainey Johnson was hired, started here in May, obviously in 2023. She's been a significant addition to our team as it relates to responding to mental health related calls. If you look at the slide there, we received Lainey received 149 calls after hours referrals. She works closely with our community safety officer. She's attended 202 calls for service just from May to December alone. And she's endlessly following up on community events within the community. In addition to that, I have met with fire and our other partners, and she's more than willing to assist with any, if fire goes to a call that they have concerns about some, whether it be hoarding, whether it be mental health, absolutely more than willing to help out wherever we can there. I just recently this week started conversations, or will be starting conversations with mental health and addiction, to just see about what options are available to maybe add another MCERT worker to Frontenac County. I do see a need. So much of what we deal with as an organization now and as officers has to do with mental health. So, the more availability and the more resources we have to assist us in dealing with those type of calls, allow us to kind of focus on what we're good at as it relates to policing. So Lainey is, again, phenomenal. She does great work. There's been a huge win-win for us having her here. And again, I'm looking at trying to expand that to another officer, to work closely with Lainey and our community service officer. And then just a couple other slides just about community stuff. Obviously, we had a couple officers attend a school up in Sharp Lake officer attended a school just to meet with the kids, and hockey event. This is really important to me from my perspective, is getting our officers back into the community, working with the community, and trying to gain some of that positive attention back to policing. As we know, over the years, we've struggled just through media We're often seen as the bad people, but that's not the goal, and that's not the reality of it. So, more community engagement and trying to get out and attending events and having our officers just drop in and talk to people is important to me as a detachment commander, and I've expressed that to our officers. And then quickly, just the stats again. These are difficult for me, provided the billing summary report and provided some stats. I haven't been here, as I said, so I don't have the history that maybe the previous detachment commander would have. So this is kind of, I'll just open the floor to any questions in relation to the stats that I provided. I'll try to answer them. But again, going forward, as we move to, I guess, the new CPSA, and the new type of board that we're going to be having. I've been promised by the organization that we are going to have a different report presented that everybody is going to be using. So it will be hopefully, I recognize that this isn't the greatest way to present our information to you. So I'm hoping to see an improvement in April when we transition. And yeah, I'll just open the floor to questions. That's kind of it in a nutshell for me. Just some updates from my short time here.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant, and welcome 1 County East to Frontenac. Are there any questions around the table or comments? Mr. Fowler.
Yes, it's good to see. I can't see it right now on the screen.
Yeah, I don't.
You managed to get the position here in Frontenac County. And I hope you stay a long time, because the little chat that I had with you once before, I was really impressed with you. Just want to point out that one of the things that happens in these areas where the police are spread out a lot, people are concerned about emergency type calls, and I just like to stress that the OPP are closest to the call when there's an emergency. And we had an experience with that back in January, where one of your officers was coming up to Barrie to do our Barrie Hall to do a presentation, and he got involved in an incident that happened down on Highway 7. And they a little bit that I understand about it was a real good thing that the officers did, and they got some bad people off the street. So I commend everything that you guys are doing. I think you're doing a great job.
I don't see any other comments, so thank you again.
Yeah, and just touching on that quickly, thank you for that. It's nice to hear the positive stuff for sure. I recognize everything can improve, and we do work to improve all of those things. Closest to the call was a fantastic thing that came into play a number of years back. Yeah, it's very helpful. I think there will be an addition to that, which will be helpful. In 2024, late 2024, we're going to be getting all new radio systems. So currently, if I can share, if it makes sense to you, so currently our crime officers, even if they're out and have their radios, they don't have repeaters in their cars in some situations currently. So, even if they're in the area and they're in a house talking to somebody, they may not recognize or hear that call from a closest to the call perspective. But again, another addition and another change to that is going to be coming in with our new radio system. So they will be, number one, it'll all be tracked. Number one, they'll have access to hear the radio no matter where they are going forward. And yeah, that'll be a big help, because it has come a long way, and I only see it improving and getting better. So thank you for that.
We have a resolution to read.
Moved by Councillor Hudel, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the presentation from Staff Sergeant Scott Underhill, Detachment Commander, OPP, regarding the 2023-2025 strategic plan and the billing summary for North Frontenac, and thanks him for his time spent today.
In favor of the resolution? It's unanimous. Passed. Thank you. So we're on to item 7, which is the adoption of the minutes of the meeting of February 2nd. And the resolution. Is there any comment on this, first of all? No? Resolution, please.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Hudol. Be resolved, the council adopts the minutes dated February 2nd, 2024 as circulated.
In favor? Pass. Item 8, business arising. And do we have Steve Lichty? We do on the line. So we're discussing item A, which is a return of the first draft. So we have the second draft now, the strategic plan, and I would ask for comments. So Hudel.
So I guess my question is more to to Corey. So we approved this strategic plan today. It doesn't provide dates or times or a work plan after this. So I'm just wondering, when does that come along from your end? Because I know that's on your end of it, specifically the environmental task force, and what's the process of getting that up and started?
So it's, as you were aware, it's a 4-year plan. So I actually spoke with the deputy mayor about the same thing yesterday. So what'll happen is once this is approved, staff will sit down and we'll come up with a kind of a schedule for you. One thing that we will be doing, I'll do up an admin report for you guys in regarding to the committee that you're talking about, the task force that you're talking about. And it'll kind of lay out the procedures of a task force, how that all works. And then you guys can decide from there who's going to chair it, when you want to start it, stuff like that. So that'll come from me. It'll come as a recommendation with some information for you. And then you guys can go from there as to how you want to do it. I don't like, as far as costs go, I mean, we'll bring forth some information too on costing. I don't think it's going to cost a lot of money for you guys to get together over, some mileage and some stuff like that. So we'll, make some recommendations to kind of take a little bit out of reserves if we need to, but again, without it being approved, it was hard for us to put anything kind of forth. So one thing you'll notice today is the plan is just received for information. The intent was it for it to be received for information and approved if you're comfortable. So if you want to approve it today, we'll add that to the resolution and get your approval, or you can wait. But that was a miscommunication on my part. Sorry about that. But that was the intention, was to present it to you. If you don't have, changes, that's great. We'll ask for approval. If you have changes, then Steve, our consultant, is on the phone to answer any questions and to make those changes, and we can bring it back. So.
Councillor Regent.
So how or does, I don't know quite how to word this, but how does not having an EDO after the end of July affect the economic prosperity section of this plan?
Can I comment? The fact that we created this plan before we did the budget, and then the budget process was difficult and onerous, and we had to make some decisions that contravened the strategic plan. I don't think that means we should change the strategic plan or decide at this point that it didn't have enough meaning. I think we should, personally, I think we should leave it in as written and be aware that we had to make a decision in contravention of the strategic plan, but it doesn't disqualify that plan from being our intent. That's just my opinion. Councillor Hudel?
Yeah, I would agree with the deputy mayor. This is a living document. Things are going to change over the next 4 or 5 years, 10 years. We don't see it now, but it's going to change. So this will we can always update this as we go, but that's just part of the strategic plan.
Yayo?
Yeah, and kind of that's the intent as well. So hopefully around budget time, we'll kind of review it each year kind of thing to see where we're at, what we've accomplished, what we haven't accomplished. And so that'll be kind of a quick annual review around budget time to have a quick look at it, make sure that we're staying on track, and we'll go from there.
Treasurer has a comment.
Just for those that are attending online, I see somebody wants to make a comment. However, this section is not a public comment section. You can make a comment under public forum under item 16 of the agenda.
Hopefully you're willing to wait. Councillor Good, did you have a comment? Well, I would like to suggest then that we add to the resolution that we, I haven't heard any comments suggesting that we should make any major changes to this, and we did discuss it at length, and the changes we made were, they were changes, but they weren't that major, I thought. So I would like to add to the resolution that we accept this strategic plan in a vote today. And I see Brooke is writing. Steve, do you have any comments about this?
No, very pleased to hear the comments this morning, and if you want to approve it, that's great. If you want some more changes, then that's something we can do as well.
I actually found it fascinating reading. The statistics about recent growth and changes in the demographics and pockets of wealth in this township surprised me. We'll have a resolution in a moment.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Whereas at the meeting held on January 8th, 2024, council passed resolution 0224, receiving for information the presentation by Steve Lichty, Capital Park Consulting Incorporated, regarding the draft strategic plan. And council requested Capital Park Consulting Incorporated make changes to the strategic plan and provide another draft at the February 23rd, 2024 meeting. Therefore, be it resolved that council receives for information the updated strategic plan from Capital Park Consulting Incorporated, and the council approves the strategic plan and instructs the CAO to provide a report to council, including a work plan, for consideration at a future council meeting.
In favor of this resolution? Wonderful. Resolution is passed. This doesn't happen every year. Congratulations, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with you.
This takes us to item 9, communications, A section. The communications that did not receive comment, we have a resolution.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information section A items of the clerk's administrative report entitled Communications of Interest.
In favor? Passed. Communications B, there's one item regarding Mississippi Rideau Source Protection appointment. I assume we've all read this short report. And it looks to me like the resolution is a person who has been there since 2007 is interested in staying and would like to stay, and we're voting on that. Or is that the intent of this resolution? So if we pass this, we are in favor of the recommendation. Could you read the resolution?
Moved by Counselor Hudel, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information a letter dated December 13th, 2023 for Mississippi Rideau Source Protection Region, advising the appointments to the Mississippi Rideau Source Protection Committee, SPC, in 2018 and 2019 were for a maximum term of 5 years for Ontario Regulation 28807, and that the term for the SPC member, Elaine Renault, representing municipalities with no drinking water systems, expires in 2024. And Ms. Renault has expressed interest in renewing her term on the SPC. and that council supports the appointment of Ms. Renaud to the SPC and instructs the clerk to provide a copy of this resolution to the Mississippi Rideau Source Protection Region.
In favor of the resolution as read? Passed. Thank you. And that takes us to the meat of the meeting. Item 10, council, CAO, and managers' administrative reports. So the first one is about, is this a new board that's being created? Corey, have I got that right?
Yes, it is. That's correct. So we had a CPAC committee, if you recall. Councillor Fowler was the chair of that, and this is, so the CPAC committee was disbanded a while ago now, and then this is kind of the board that's being replacing that.
So this board will have a council rep from each, two from South, and one from Central and one from North, nothing from the islands, which is considered a different region of administration. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's correct, but it's not one from Central and one from North Frontenac. It's one shared representative from Central and North Frontenac.
I'm reading it that the shared rep is for the community rep. The council rep, we get one. Oh,
I'm sorry, you're correct. I'm jumping ahead to the community one. You're right. Good catch. Thank you.
These things are hard to understand on first reading sometimes. So we are here today to choose a council representative to this new board, replacing the previous committee. Is there anybody on council who would like to sit on this board? Councillor Regent and Councillor Fowler and Councillor Hugel? No. I would love Hugel, would you like to nominate somebody?
With this past experience, I'd like to nominate Councillor Fowler.
Well, we have a situation where there are two people who would like to be on this board. We can only appoint one. I suppose the process is we vote.
Say something.
Yes, and you get 2 minutes to say something. I'll ask Councilor Regent to say something first.
So I've been waiting for this meeting for this to come up. I'm so excited to see this on here. Social services happens to be my portfolio already, so that's one good reason. I also sit on the safety committee for Addington Highlands, which has a few members of the OPP on it. So there may be a nice way to work across the highway, which has always been has been a little bit of an issue in the past. And as you heard in the presentation, one of their priorities is the community focus, which you all are very well aware, as is mine. I think this would fit very nicely into my existing portfolio, and I could tie a whole bunch of things in that I'm already doing to represent this council on your behalf.
Thank you, Stephanie. Fred, would you like to tell us why you'd like to be on this board?
Yes, I've had 24 years experience as a police officer in Toronto. I'm also a licensed paralegal, licensed by the Law Society. I've been doing I'm not active now, I've retired from that, but I'm still a member. Also, I had been on the CPAC committee for 4 years prior to me becoming a member of this council. And then after that, I was the chair of the committee until it was disbanded. It was about 2 or 3 years of that. Also, I'm a member, one of the founding members of the Central and North Frontenac Seniors and Law Enforcement Together. It's been approximately 6 years doing that. So I'm out there serving the community as well. I'd like to use my experience in a positive way to support the police and also support the community.
Thank you, Fred. Well, I guess this is the time we take a vote on this. see by hands raised who would vote for Councillor Regent to be the board member. No. Two, and by a show of hands. Of course, three. And by a show of hands, how many would like to see Councillor Fowler as the board representative? We have a tie. I'm not sure what to do.
It's a no vote.
It's a no vote. I'm afraid we don't have a representative for this guy. I'd hate to bring it down to short straw. Suppose one option would be to split the position 50-50. Councillor Fowler has a suggestion.
Okay, suggestion is that why don't we defer this until we're at full council at the next council meeting? Or unless there's a time problem with this.
Councillor Hudel?
Well, I just think we need to check our bylaw, see what it says. So tied vote first before we do that. We need to follow the procedures.
And do we have a comment on them? Research staff is busy.
Do your procedural policy, no vote shall be taken by ballot or any other method of secret voting. And unfortunately,
We don't have
it's-
direction.
we have direction on how to vote when it's not, when we're not talking about recorded votes. But nothing about what to do in the event. That I have found so far.
Well, putting names in a hat isn't a secret ballot. We know who's in there. It's not us picking, it's just random.
Well, then we're picking something based on someone's good luck or not? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you need to pick the best person for this position. How are we just picking a name out of a hat? That doesn't seem at all appropriate.
On the other hand, we have two people around the table who are the best person.
So let's share it. That's allowed. I'd be happy to share it, but I think his experience in my fresh set of eyes. Pardon me, I think his experience in my fresh set of eyes from someone who's very involved in my ward would be beneficial. So if Fred's willing to share it, let's share it.
Councillor
I don't
Fowler,
think-
do you have a comment on that?
I just don't think that's the way the board would operate. It would have to be an individual.
I think the board may object to that. CAO?
So it's actually for the board, it's an appointment, but it's not, it's not a shared appointment. It is, that person's, that one person is appointed for the term of council. So that would be a problem.
I don't see any option to a luck option myself. If this were a political party, we'd keep voting over and over
So
again.
that applies to council vacancies.
We need two slips of paper and a hat.
So in your procedural policy, under council vacancies, section 15.14 says in the first round. So this would be if you had a vacant council seat. In the first round or any subsequent round, if no one receives a majority vote from council, a second round of voting will occur for up to 3 rounds. If the lack of majority continues, all names will be placed in a hat. And the CAO will draw 1 name from that hat, and the names withdrawn will be appointed to fill the vacancy.
Well, let's try that. We'll have a second round of voting. We know that there was a tie. Is there a comment?
Deputy Mayor, just a question. Do we not have to be at full capacity for that to actually make sense?
Doesn't say that in the procedural bylaw.
Okay.
We're good.
Does this have to be done this meeting, or can we wait for the mayor to come back?
I suspect the timing is adequate that we could wait 3 weeks. So let's resolve to defer this. Chicken's way out.
Can we just defer that part for the council member because of the April? I'm working with Kathy McMunn, Central Frontenac CAO, to get our community member on board. And so we're going to need to advertise that. So can we go, are you okay if we just defer the council member part?
Yeah, that's all
And
we're
then
talking
still
about.
continue
Yeah.
with the other
The
part? for
community,
me, so I can get
community
that-
members are completely separate.
Yeah, by the time we get them on board and then get them interviewed on board and then get their training, it's gonna be pushing it, so. If, and then council, I think the 27th, I believe, is Central Frontenac's considering this, so that'd be great. Thank you.
So we're going to have a resolution which defers this vote until we have a full council of 7. So that a tie is not possible.
That assumes everyone's here for the next meeting. There's no guarantee of that either. I mean, I'll defer if the rest of the council wants to, but we're here. We have quorum.
Councilor Good?
Yeah, because really, nobody sitting here can say that they're gonna be here for sure at the next meeting.
Well, I will defer to whatever this table wants to do.
So I would agree with Counselor Good. I mean, you have 2 qualified counselors who want the position. It's been done in the past. It doesn't matter for council which one represents us. We're both qualified, so it's not like there's anything wrong with it. I think if the policy or it's happened, precedents have been set before in other committees that we pull out a name out of the hat, I think that's what we should do.
Logistically, can we handle this right now? Brooke Ross, can you help us with this at all? A hat and 2 pieces of paper? Thank you.
But is that what council wants? I mean, that's just me saying that.
I get the feeling that that's what council wants. And the time to do that is now, not after the meeting. This is unexpected, but I think it's great that 2 people want this position. I think it's a good dilemma. So we have to vote on the process for this choice. That's a resolution in itself. So we can say that given that there were two candidates for the position and there was a tie vote, council decided to draw a name for the successful candidate. Councilor Herman.
This is just my personal opinion, but I think maybe council should consider someone with experience, because this is an important board position. It could have a major effect on police services. So I think we should actually look for experience and background knowledge.
Yes, but the vote has already been taken. And we decided that, rather than repeat the vote, we were going to draw straws. Councilor Good.
Yeah, since I opened up the door, let Vern speak his mind, I can speak mine now. The reason I think Councilor Regent would be in there better for this job is it's a fresh look on perspective on it. Yeah, she doesn't have the OPP experience, but that isn't always good for the community either. It's somebody from outside the OPP that can see what's going on and talk to the people better than what an ex-OPP officer would be able to, and has a different perspective on life itself in there. That's why I voted for Councilor Regent.
Those arguments are good, but we're into a different process now, of course. Where this will be a process of luck. Councilor Fowler has a comment.
Yes, I understand where Councilor Good is coming from, but there is a section for community representative appointments. And that's the second part of it. So the community will be represented.
Perhaps the unsuccessful candidate in this drawing of straws will want to be a community rep.
I don't think that, I actually don't think that, I like that idea. I mean, to be truthful, but I don't think that's actually fair to the community. I think if we're looking for three community members only, Fred and I have our chance right here. So good luck. We'll see.
I think we have a resolution to read now.
I will need a moved in second. The motion.
Okay. I'll pass it over to a mover and a seconder.
Moved by Councillor Hudel, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be resolved that council, or, excuse me. Be it resolved that in the event of the no majority vote for the appointment of a member to the OPP Detachment Board, council will draw one name from a hat, and the name drawn will be appointed to fill the vacancy, similar to section 15.14 in the procedural policy bylaw.
In favor? That's what we're doing. So there's a hat and there's two names, and the CAO is going to close his eyes and be responsible for this choice. The successful draw was to Councillor Regent. Congratulations. Fascinating process.
Congratulations.
We have to read a resolution following that draw.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Hudol. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the Chief Administrative Officer's administrative report entitled Update RE Frontenac OPP Detachment Board and Proposed Appointment of Representatives. And that council appoints Counselor Regent to the Frontenac OPP Detachment Board. And that the CAO is directed to work with the Council of Central Frontenac CAO to advertise an interview for the shared community representative position, North and Central Frontenac, on the board, and is directed to bring back recommendations at a future council meeting. And the council will provide an update once known regarding potential costs to the municipality for participation of members on the board.
In favor of the resolution? Passed. Thank you. Item B is regarding towers. Is there a comment first on the report provided by the CAO? I'd personally like to hear just a bit of background information on this, Corey.
So we've had this agreement in place for several years with CRINS, who's kind of, if someone wants to put a tower here, they would work through CRINS to get all the approvals. And CRINS is kind of our contracted service that would work with them to get the approvals through the ministry. So we've run into an issue where CRINS has just not been responsive at all. So it's not just with our municipality, it's with several municipalities. So it's really been delaying things, especially with the EORN projects that are happening right now throughout the several municipalities. So
So what is CRINS? It's not a private corporation. Is it a board or what is it?
no, it's the, I'll have to read their title here. So Canadian Radio Communications Information and Notifications. It's a company. It's just a company that we've contracted with, and then they would do all the legwork to kind of bring everything of the application in, and then that would go off to the I'm trying to think of it's the ministry.
It's a private for-profit corporation.
Yes.
Okay,
Canada's radio yeah, so they would bring that information back and then that all goes to the Canada's Radio Communication and Broadcasting Antennas, that whole, it's a whole reporting procedure, and then that all gets approval. So you guys did that, you just approved one, two towers. But that all went through that process and they did respond. They got us the information we needed for that, but then they've stopped responding, so. And it's an issue with several municipalities. And I almost think, again, we've left voicemails, we've done it on their general line. So I'm not even so sure that they're in business anymore at this stage, but there's no responses, so we need to move on without them.
So are we reporting directly to the federal agency?
Yes, we sent that off right to the federal agency. That's correct. Sent all the information off and the conditions. And then I also advised EORN and Rogers. Rogers is they're the ones that are putting the two towers in for that. But throughout the future, we're going to have something in place. So we want to follow this other process. We're going to try to do it from internally. Depending on, we'll see how much it takes. And if it's just way over the top that we can't manage it, then I'll be coming back to you with other options, hopefully. If there are any.
I don't want to ask Brooke to read this whole resolution. Is there some way of shortening this? Okay, hold your breath, everyone.
Moved by Counselor Hudol, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the Chief Administrative Officer's administrative report entitled Update regarding North Frontenac Township's agreement with Canadian Radio Communications Information and Notification Services. And that council rescinds bylaw 3519, appointing Canadian Radio Communications Information and Notification Services to receive and process applications for communication facilities on behalf of the Township of North Frontenac in their capacity as the Land Use Authority, effective February 26, 2024. And that CRINS is to stop work on all current applications within the jurisdiction of the municipality and is to return said back to the municipality. and that council instructs the CAO to notify CRINS that the appointment has been rescinded, and that council adopts Industry Canada's radio communication and broadcasting antenna systems updated effective July 2022 as the process for reviewing and approving land use issues associated with antenna system sitting proposals, and that council instructs the clerk to amend Schedule E of the fees and charges bylaw to remove the wording of a radio communication facility be collected by CRINS and transferred to the township.
You've heard the resolution. All in favor? Passed. Item 10C. This is a shore road allowance. Are there any comments about this one? I have a question. Is this a situation where there's a pit on this property, and why would, if that's the case, why would this company want to purchase a shore road allowance? I'm just wondering about pits too close to the water. Any comments?
I mean, I don't know if it, looking at the mapping, I don't believe that there's a pit on the property. It's simply a shore road allowance. And this is it the name that,
Yeah, perhaps I don't
Oh.
have the right to ask, but it's an engineering corporation. It owns a piece of property, so I'm just wondering,
so
what's the
I,
activity on that?
and certainly I can't speak to it. I feel like that's just the person that's bought it underneath that name. It's not a large property. I know that, so it's certainly not something that would be suitable.
This appears to be completely routine.
This is routine, yeah.
All in favor?
Oh, I have to read the
Oh.
resolution first.
And there's a comment from Councillor Good.
Yes, I went in and looked at this property and there's no buildings on it or anything. And, the pit is across the road over away from it. I don't know why they're wanting it. But, there's nothing on there, just bush. There's a laneway in there, but it's not, much.
Well, it's not our habit to ask why people want to buy shore road allowances, so we shouldn't do so here, I guess. Would you read the resolution, please?
Moved by Councillor Hermer, seconded by Councillor Hudol. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Shore Road Allowance Closure and Sale Bylaw, Indicate Engineering Corporation, and that as required by bylaw 2023, all that part of the shore road allowance in front of part of lot 10, northeasterly range, geographic township of Miller, township of Frontenac, county of Frontenac, being part 2 on registered plan 13R 23059 Shaws Lake, be declared as surplus and sold to the adjoining owners. Appraisals of the properties are not necessary as these are shore road allowances, and that council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to stop up, close, and sell a portion of the shore road allowance.
Favor of the resolution? It's passed. We're on to item D, which is a traditional land acknowledgement. Are there comments about the report that accompanies this? Personally, I was pleased to see that the Algonquins of Ardoch were involved in this. So this has county input, Shabbat Abajuan input, I assume, and Algonquins of Ardoch, and it's looks to me like a very respectful, short presentation, and it will accompany a new, shorter acknowledgement of recording as well. Could you read the resolution?
Moved by Councillor Hermer, seconded by Councillor Fowler. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Traditional Land Acknowledgement, and that council adopts the following land acknowledgement. We begin this gathering by acknowledging and celebrating these traditional lands as a gathering place of the first peoples and their ancestors who are entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. We do so respecting both the land and the Indigenous peoples who continue to walk with us through this world. Today, the Township of North Frontenac is committed to working with Indigenous peoples and all residents to pursue a united path of reconciliation. and that the land acknowledgement shall be read at the beginning of council, committee, and task force meetings and may be used at township events and gatherings.
In favor of the resolution? Thank you. It's passed. So we're on to item E, which is assumption of road, 2 roads. River Road and Addington Road. Any comments about this? You read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Assumption of a Portion of Roads, River Road and Addington Road, and that council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to dedicate and assume a portion of the roads as noted in the report. And the council instructs the clerk to have the municipal solicitor register the bylaw against each of the properties.
In favor of the resolution? Passed. Item F. This is an amendment to Shore Road closure, allowance closure bylaw from a long time ago. Are there any comments on the report? The company's this? Corey, do you have something to say about this? No? No? You read the resolution, please.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Amendment to Shore Road Allowance Closure Bylaw 2023-81, and that council will consider a bylaw to amend Shore Road Allowance Closure Bylaw 2023-81 later in the meeting.
In favor of the resolution? Passed. So we're on to item 10G. The 25-year celebration of North Frontenac Parklands. And we have some initiatives. Brooke, can you give us a brief verbal on this?
For sure, thank you. So, yeah, so the North Frontenac Parklands Crown Stewardship Program is hitting 25 years of operation in May. So we just wanted to do a little celebration and acknowledgement and invite past and present campers to share their stories. And then all submissions will be entered into receive a prize pack and a free camping weekend. And I also would like to write an article just on the history of the North Frontenac Parklands and submit it to the Frontenac News and post on our website and social media. Just a little recognition to 25 great years of the parklands in North Frontenac.
Thank you. And the resolution? I'm sorry, Councillor Cagle.
I just think it's a great idea. That's all I want to say.
Now can we read the resolution?
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information Manager of Community Development's administrative report entitled North Frontenac Parklands 25 Years of Operation.
In favor? Passed. Item H. This is a Trillium Grant application for Snow Road Community Hall. Any comments about this one? Who writes these grant proposals? Oh, the person with their hand up.
So to answer your question, between myself and the Snow Road Community Center group, we'll be writing the application. I just wanted to bring to your attention that our mayor had made a comment on this to bring up at the meeting regarding replacing the countertop as well. Just with the heat of the dishwasher, it would be advisable to put in more of a stone or granite countertop versus the wood and laminate. So if you are agreeable, I'd like to recommend amending the resolution to include that countertop.
Is anybody against that? So the wording will change a bit? Councillor
Is this
Zip?
going into the grant application?
Yes, and the grant is for 100% funding. So if we weren't to receive the grant, we wouldn't be proceeding with the project.
And if we didn't write in the countertop proposal, we wouldn't be able to do it? with the grant money? Details.
Did you want to enhance the, do we have costing on there? No? Okay, perfect, thanks.
Resolution?
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Manager of Community Development's administrative report entitled Ontario Trillium Capital Grant, Snow Road Community Hall, Commercial Dishwasher and Stove. And that council approves the MCD's application to the 2024 Ontario Trillium Capital Grant for 100% project funding. And that council directs the CAO to enter into a funding agreement with Ontario Trillium Capital Grant upon the township's successful application for 100% project funding. And the council directs the MCD to have the dishwasher, stove, and new countertop installed at the Snow Road Community Hall if the application for funding is successful.
In favor? Passed. Thank you. Item I, our manager of community development has written an annual report, which is attended here. Are there any comments on the reports that accompany this for 2023? Councillor Hermer.
I have a question for Brooke. I see the campsite bookings were up in 2023, but yet the revenues were down. Why?
So to explain that, and I do have a presentation to go through, if they
Sorry,
may
Brooke.
answer some of these
Please,
questions.
please answer the question briefly and then do the presentation.
Okay, so the bookings were up, but the stays were shorter, so that's what fluctuates the revenue. Okay, so my presentation. So good morning, Mayor and members of council, and thank you for the opportunity today to present to you the 2023 annual report for North Frontenac Parklands. I just wanted to take a brief moment to introduce Mandy Mitchell. She's our Parklands administrative assistant, and she has spent a lot of time preparing this report and presentation for you guys today. So introduction and thank you to Mandy. So just a brief overview of the program. The program is managed, operated by North Frontenac Township staff and is a collaboration between the township, MNRF, and the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. So currently we have 160 active campsites, 11 lakes, and 58 kilometers of Crown Road, 1 hiking trail, and all funds from the sale are reinvested into our program, North Frontenac Parklands. So some comparisons. In 2023, the total number of campsite bookings were 5,054 compared to 5,014. There were more bookings overall, and as I kind of just explained, but the average trip was marginally shorter, resulting in less overall revenue. The 2023 sales were at a 1.41% decrease, or $4,122 less than 2022 totals. The difference is minor, and the numbers seem to be stabilizing since the large surge in sales seen at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. So a quick glance at our revenue summary over the past 10 years for all camping and road access permits. As you can see, in 2023, all permit sales equaled 288,500. Again, we are seeing the numbers starting to stabilize since the big peak of sales in 2020 from COVID-19. For excess revenues over expenditures. So in 2023, we've seen just over $25,000 excess revenue compared to expenditures. Although this is less from previous years, there are 2 main contributing factors to the decrease, being we did move forward on the large parking expansion at the Crotch Lake Access Road, and also some personnel expenses, being the new position of the Clerical and Crown Land Stewardship Program Assistant, which was funded 50% through the Parklands, which was previously 25%. There's also some other fees, like OMERS being available to all staff now, and just some other personnel operating dollars. So the excess dollars of revenue over expenditures is placed into our Parklands Reserve Fund and shall only be used on future Parklands expenses per the agreement with the ministry. So some program benefits. The North Frontenac Parklands brings in several tourists to the area, and we've seen visitors in 2023 from all across Canada, 10 different US states, as well as visitors from Bosnia. The program continues to maintain crown roads within the program, as well as boat launches and the trail. We were fortunate in 2023 to have 3 agreements with ATV and motorcycle clubs, which brought in over $50,000 to assist with the program. These agreements continue to be beneficial for the program as well as the clubs. So the program provides employment opportunities. So we have 3 full-time seasonal positions and 1 part-time seasonal position of 32 hours per week, which at the last budget meeting, we did increase that to 40 hours per week. We also employ 2 students in the summer for approximately 9 weeks. And then we have a 50% year-round administrative assistant. And so the program thrives with the staff who maintain it and as well as educate and communications with campers and outdoor enthusiasts. I've just highlighted some compliments we received. We received several compliments from visitors regarding our program. We are very proud to share these today with council and show you the impacts the program has on our visitors. And with compliments, we also do receive some complaints. So we do see a small number of complaints annually from campers, such as noise, insects, garbage, and other complaints, as you can see in the summary. Our staff work diligently to rectify the concerns as soon as possible to ensure that every camper has a great experience in our parklands. So the future of North Frontenac Parklands. We have proposed to increase staffing hours in 2024, as you are aware. We are also looking into potential expansion for roadside sites. We will be working with the ministry and bring a proposal to council in the future should this be practical. Also, parking has been an ongoing concern, and we will continue to work with the ministry to expand the parking at Helen Lane Boat Launch on Big Gull Lake. Parking in all other areas continue to be monitored as well. And we are still just waiting the approval from the ministry to expand the Helen Lane parking. So roadway enhancements also continue on the crown roads within the program, and each year we add gravel and maintenance to these roads to enhance them as much as possible, and this remains a large priority within the program. So overall, 2023 was a great year, and staff are excited about the upcoming 2024 camping season. It's always great to see many returning campers, and we sincerely look forward to meeting new people who will have a chance to enjoy our beautiful area and camping and recreational opportunities. So I will open the floor for any questions you may have.
Councillor Hudel.
Thank you, Brooke, for the presentation. I'm really liking to see that staff are doing more presentations. That's really good. As far as the program goes, I think it's excellent. The work that you did at Crotch Lake was really good. The parking, I use that, and it makes it a lot easier for me to back in my boat. And if you could do something about that insects, I think we'd all like to have less black flies in May.
I have a question about roadside camping. Brooke, there's already some roadside camping along Side Dam Rapids at Crotch Lake there. What do you have in mind? Non-waterfront roadside? So you drive in with your tent?
That's right. So that's what we're looking at right now. Our main part, our focus currently and what we're anticipating and going to ask the ministry for permission for prior to seeing if this is practical is some roadside sites in the Arcole roads. There's a lot of ATVers who don't necessarily need to be on waterfront, but there's access to so many lakes around there. And our roadside drive-in sites are almost fully booked. So there is a lot of people who don't have a boat to get to our water access sites. So just opening up a little more opportunity for roadside sites potentially.
So this doesn't change the nature of the camper, the demographic of the camper particularly. I assume, how many are you, you're at 180 now, are you talking about another 50, another 10?
No, it's pretty low scale, like maybe 10 new sites. It's a very small project.
Thank you. Councillor Fowler.
Yes, on these roadside campsites, can people bring in a small trailer or something like that?
Yeah, so the sites we currently have, some of them are big enough to have trailers. The nature of the proposal, it's very new and just something we've thought about to do this year. I wouldn't have specifics on what may be able to be brought on to the proposed sites.
Not drive-through, not electrified. Corey?
So there will be a bit of process, and what Brooke will have to do is she'll actually, I think she has to get approval from the ministry, for each site, and then, so they'll kind of come back probably and say, this is an appropriate site, this is not acceptable, this is, and so once they get kind of determined, then she'll be able to determine the size of the site and what they're going to permit us to use, if any. And then that'll determine if they could fit a trailer on there or not.
Just, we're not going to be getting involved with, dumping the sewage and things like that kind of a setup.
No, that's correct.
We are not trying to sneak in a municipal campground on you. Resolution.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the Manager of Community Development's Administrative Report and Presentation entitled Crown Land Stewardship Program Annual Report 2023.
In favor? It's passed. So we're at item J. I find this one really hard to understand, Darwin. Could you comment?
As Deputy Mayor, if I could provide an overview just to introduce this item, and Laura Mannion's joined us. She's helped research this report, plus she's doing a lot of work on this whole transition. So this is the biggest change for recycling on Blue Box, really, since the township adopted the recycling program. So the idea is they're transitioning to industry responsibility, and they call them pros. And the pro that we're dealing with is Circular Materials. There are three, but they really have a large percentage of representing a large percentage of the producers and really managing this whole transition and basically the only game in town. The benefits of this, and the two that are promoted the most widely, industry will be assuming 100% of the cost of the Blue Box program once this transition takes place. Right now, we submit through the data call and we receive about 50% funding. But when this is up and running and fully transitioned in 2026, they'll be 100% responsible. And the other benefit, and it'll take place in 2026, this will standardize the list of Blue Box items that are accepted across the province. So we won't have, some municipalities accepting plastic bags and some not, and there'll be a standard list province-wide. The first part of this, there's a transition phase and then full implementation in the beginning of 2026. So we transition in July of 2025 through to the end of the year. It's a pretty short period. The transitions started across the province in 2023, but the focus was on large communities with curbside pickup and more extensive or complex operations than what we have with just the depots. So our first option during the transition is we can just totally opt out. Circular Materials could take it over in July rather than the end of the year and be fully responsible. That's not, I'll be bringing forward options later. I think the idea of a transition is transition, don't just step aside in July. And the other, I believe they have to provide and operate the same number of sites that we do, but they don't necessarily have to use our sites. So I just think with transition, and if we're involved, they would continue to use our sites and we would be so that's opting out. Opting in is that I could see us operating the depots and they would provide their bins and do the hauling, but we would operate it at the depot level and we would be compensated for that. They're responsible for the service through the transition. So if we are involved, we'd be compensated for that involvement. So I'll bring options forward to council at a future date with the opt-in option. It's just we're dealing now with circular materials and waiting on just the level of compensation, or if we are involved, what they would be offering us for compensation. So I need, we need that component of it before I bring it forward. So that's the transition period. Then in 2026, so post-transition circular materials, they take it over. They operate the service. There's no cost to the township. But during that phase, in accordance with the regulation, if we're operating 6 sites where we're doing blue box and garbage, they have to operate 6 sites. But they don't necessarily have to be our sites. They could change or vary locations. I can't speak on their behalf. I can't see why or how they would do that, because I would think they'd need ECAs and have to get approvals for these new sites, and I can't imagine going through that process. Where I'd see options is near our borders, where they potentially share with another municipality. But I can't speak for them. So I think our main involvement during post-transition would be we would lease our sites to them. They'd have access to our sites, and we would still have them open for either a transfer station or a landfill accepting waste. So we'd still have a presence there. So we're not looking for approval for options right now. We need more information on the costing, and then we'll bring it forward to council and make some decisions on that. The other aspect of this, and it's not a huge volume of blue box material, but it's sensitive and impacts our operations locally, is this whole program is only applicable for residential users. So the industry and commercial users are non-eligible. And just an example of what that list includes, right? It's the municipality. The municipal buildings and operations are non-eligible. Businesses like lodges, cottage rentals, trailer parks. And it's the latest that we've been able to determine if they're long-term rentals. Well, if they include a residence, it's eligible. If they're long-term rentals, they're eligible. If it's short-term rentals, weekly type stuff for trailer parks or lodges, cottages or campgrounds, they'd be non-eligible. And churches, commercial farms, so really non-residential type uses. So we're just in the process of preparing a questionnaire or a survey for businesses and contacting them and just determining just the extent of the interest there and the extent of the impact. Some businesses won't care that they're currently and have always ran on their own container service, bin service, won't impact them at all. Others it will, but we need to determine just the extent of the impact on business users. It's not an issue during the transition. Our numbers are quite small for commercial type blue box material, and we can pay circular materials to provide that service, but post transition they're not interested in managing or handling commercial non-eligible sources, so we'll have to come up with an option for that. It's really not looking for decisions on options today, just where we're at and so the challenges associated with this, and we'll be bringing it forward.
So eventually, circular materials will have its own trucks, its own bins. What do we do with all the assets that we have?
I have at the end of the report, a list of items to be addressed. So if we if we look at the non-eligible, if we run some type of program just for non-eligibles, we'll need some, if we operated it at all the sites, we'd basically need the bins that we have. The other option is to run it at selected sites that are kind of central and serve the businesses. So we wouldn't need as many. So we'd have the option of, we'll determine what's surplus as far as bins, and one option is to sell them to Circular Materials or their contractor. But this is going to require a review, bins and capital assets and what we require or what's surplus and, impact on the operation and staffing.
So eventually, the tax burden on Blue Box stuff is going to go to zero for the township. Is that the direction this is heading? The producers are taking responsibility for the cost. That means we'll pay a little more for stuff we buy. But do we lose all those expenses in recycling?
We do. The idea is that it's at zero cost to us. We could lease, if we lease some of our depots, then, then there's income from that. And if we run some type of program for non-eligible sources, that would be at our own expense.
So currently, you wouldn't think of charging the commercial industrial waste producers. We don't charge them now.
No. We have, in theory, the whole Blue Box program has really just been applicable to residential. We haven't differentiated here. And through the data call, there is an adjustment factor, but for us, with the limited number of commercial sources, there hasn't been an adjustment. When we get looking at the options for non-eligible, it ranges from, it's such a limited impact that you're not going to provide for it at all. You could provide for it with a fee, or you could provide it without a fee. So there's within that part of this, there are a number of options that we'll look at and bring forward.
So we'll be considering these options in this term of council.
We will be considering them in the next month or two.
Comments? Councillor Good.
Yes, does that mean that we won't be having all the waste site employees? Hopefully that.
And when we get further into the options, then I'd like to comment more on the impact on, what's required as far as staffing. We're still, sites to be open, we're still running the waste side of it, still accepting garbage. And depending on how much involvement we have with Circular Materials, that will impact the required number of staff.
So depending on the option we take, if we take to opt, one of the options there that they run the whole thing, they could hire their own waste site employees or may take ours, but if depending on the wages compared to what we're paying them to what the private person could pay or private company.
Yeah, really need to look, we need to do more work on the options before we know what it might look like. And we really just started our discussions with Circular Materials on costing and options and compensation that, they might or might not offer. So we're just really early in that process.
Any more comments? Could you read the resolution, please?
Moved by Councillor Hermer, seconded by Councillor Fowler. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Public Work Manager's administrative report entitled Blue Box Transition to Full Producer Responsibility Update, and that council approves the Public Work Manager or designate contacting local businesses and sources of Blue Box materials that are considered non-eligible to assess the need for service and report to council regarding options at a future meeting. And that the Public Works Manager will pursue negotiations with Circular Materials as the producer responsible organization or their agents, summarize options available considering level of service implications and costing, and report back to council for direction.
In favor of the resolution? Passed. Item K, and our treasurer is up. Do you have a report on this, Kelly?
No, just if there's any questions.
Looks like there's just one property here. Usually there are 3 or 4,
Yeah, no, just one this time around.
and this will be advertised.
So it started yesterday.
Any comments on this item? In favor of, oh, the resolution has to be read.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives the treasurer's administrative report regarding tax sale, advertising of lands for public sale, March 2024 for information purposes. And the council instructs the deputy treasurer, administrative financial coordinator, tax collector to advertise for sale the one property ready for tax sale as of February 2024.
In favor of the motion? It's passed. So this brings us to agenda item 11, and we have a report from the Joint Health and Safety Committee meeting that was held on February 7th. Does a resolution go with this one as well? Yes.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved, the council receives the minutes of the Joint Health and Safety Committee dated February 7th, 2024 for information purposes.
In favor? Passed. There's no notice of motion. Item 12 is notices of motion. I do not have a notice of motion for this meeting, but I think Councilor Hermer, Councilor Hudel does. Councilor Hermer? All right, could you read it? Rip? I will cancel.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved that Counselor Hermer serves notice of motion to discuss reimbursement of tax dollars invested towards doctor recruitment for all municipalities who have done so.
Do we want to, we don't discuss this topic at this time. We just agree to receive this at the following meeting. Councilor Hudel?
Can, just read that again. Reimbursement from who? Did you do? State?
Councilor Hermer?
It's a request for reimbursement from the province since healthcare is a provincial responsibility. I don't think that it should fall on local municipal taxpayers to support this.
Right, so we're just agreeing to hear this at the next meeting, not to discuss it today.
So I've amended the resolution to read reimbursement of tax dollars from the province of Ontario.
All in favor of receiving this? So it passes. And there are no motions brought forward from a previous notice of motion. This is item 13. I think I'm right there. 14, council portfolio verbal reports. The mayor is absent. Is there anything from county business that Councilor Fowler can tell us?
I have a list. I'm just looking for my list. Give me a minute, please. Okay, county council met on February 21st, 2024. Was a presentation from Jim Knapp, who is the president of the new club, Frontenac ATV Club, which replaces the old Verona ATV Club. He wanted to just provide us with updates of how they help maintain and patrol the KMP Trail. There was also a presentation by Sherry Black. She's the executive director of the Ontario Federation of ATV Clubs. And she spoke about their accomplishments and what they do and help manage the trails as well in the county. There was also a proclamation, therapeutic retention month. And also there was update on emergency management program committee, the Fairmont Home, and monthly reports from the CAO, Kelly Pender. Also the reports on planning and development committee, there was 4 parts. The 4th part was a recorded vote and it passed 4-2. And also we received information from the rural housing funding options. And also we got the bylaw, which is 2022-0033, which is the KMP Trail bylaw. It's an interesting read, and I think we should all look at it once the KMP Trail comes up this week. Our next meeting will be March 2024.
Yeah, please continue if you
Yeah.
have anything
Yeah,
else on the Lake Association Alliance.
Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance, the general manager Cindy Cassidy will do a presentation at the Frontenac County meeting in March. There's nothing with the North Frontenac Trails, nothing with the Lake Association. Portfolio item is for seniors and law enforcement together. Our last presentation, February 20 at Sharpet Lake, was on Alzheimer's. The next meeting for the committee will be on March 7th. That's when we'll choose and pick where we have our presentations and also the topics of the presentation. Our next presentation will be March 22nd at 11 a.m. at Snow Road Hall, and that'll be on scams and frauds. That's all I have.
Councilor Good.
Yeah, I had a call yesterday or for the day of the meeting down there from a gentleman that was the past president of the snowmobile. I can't just remember what it was, but he was saying that it was being brought up, user pay. That they were talking about user pay for the KMP Trail at that meeting.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything decided upon by the county. So far, there isn't going to be a user fee for using the KMP Trail. But that may change in the future, but it's not going to happen right now. Right now, anybody can use the KMP Trail without spending money.
But that was in discussion though, at that meeting.
Mention, yes.
Councilor Good, do you have anything on Ward 1 Lakes or road inspection?
Sorry, no, I've had nothing on that, that's all.
Thank you. Councilor Regent.
No, there's no updates. I think everyone here is aware of the fact that there's been quite a bit of stuff on Facebook about Dr. Weldon and his family coming. They are looking for a rental to begin with. So if you are aware of something that would be suitable, you need to speak to Ken Hook.
Councilor Hudel.
Nothing really to update. We had our MVCA board meeting last week. Pretty normal meeting. Just that the EA process for Kashwakamak Dam is starting now. So that's in the process. I think our mayor is part of that committee. And I have a technical advisory committee for next week in the county.
Thank you. Councilor Hermer, anything on Ward 2 Lakes?
Nothing to report.
They're all frozen. They're not all frozen. And I have nothing to report on, Ward Three Lakes. So we are at introduction reading of bylaws, item 15. We're good.
I just wanted to know, Councilor Regent is going to the thing in Snow Road. For meet with the police. Committee,
Don't know about that.
March, you just mentioned it.
Yeah, it's March 22nd.
Salt meeting,
Pardon?
the salt meeting,
The
that's
salt
open to the,
presentation.
that's open to the public.
Or the, or she wants to come to our regular meeting? If she wants to come to the regular meeting, she can, it's at the Child Care Center in Charlotte Lake. If she wants to come and join us, she's welcome.
Verified, item 15, introduction reading of bylaws.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that leave be given to the mover to introduce the following bylaws that have been circulated to all members of council. Bylaw 2024-17 to close, stop up, and sell a shore road allowance. Bylaw 2024-18 to assume portion of River Road and Addington Road. Bylaw 2024-19 to close, stop up, and sell a shore road allowance. And that these bylaws be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
We vote on it? All in favor? Passed, of course. So I think that ends the resolution to go into closed. Of course.
Oh, we have public forum first.
Are there any members of the public who would like to speak to? Earlier, we heard something. Are those people still patiently waiting?
So if there's anyone online that wishes to speak, please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none.
Here on this, or we go in closed? Read a resolution? Please do.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved, the council retires to closed session at 10:43 a.m. to A, adopt minutes of a closed meeting dated November 24th, 2023. My apologies. So we'll take a break for 10 minutes and return at 10:53. And at that time, we'll move into closed session.
So for anybody in attendance, if you can, if you remove yourself from the meeting, you can rejoin after the closed session. Otherwise, we will remove you from the meeting.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved, the council retires to closed session at 10:52 a.m. to adopt minutes of a closed meeting dated November 24th, 2023. Review requests under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically appointment of a committee member, and discuss advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, specifically a confidential complaint.
Confirmatory bylaw.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hermer.
You have something to read for the Rising Report. What do I say? A closed meeting of council. We considered a matter that involved the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act and an item concerning an identifiable individual regarding an appointment to a township committee. We received advice from the township solicitor, including confidential communications, and we provided instruction for the solicitor. Confirmatory bylaw now.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-20 being a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings of council for its regular meeting held February 23rd, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
All in favor? And we adjourn the meeting at 11:15 a.m.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved, the council adjourns the meeting at 11:15 a.m. until March 15th, 2024, or at the call of the chair.
In favor? Yes, passed. Thank you.